Good afternoon, students. I hope your day is going well. I hope you've had a great beginning of your week. We are in week 6 now of exploring the New Testament together. So, your week 6 assignments are now live for you. This week's assignments are going to be the same as they have been in the previous weeks. So, you have 4 assignments due this week: your discussion, your unit quiz, your reflection, and your essay paper. It's going to be the same due dates as it has been. So your initial discussion post will be due Wednesday evening, and then your 2 follow-ups to your classmates will be due on Friday evening. So again, make sure that you're getting those assignments submitted in on time, so you're not having any points deducted for your assignments being late. And then also make sure that you're again just fulfilling all of those requirements specifically with the discussion. Basically just writing one paragraph answering your questions specifically, and then having 2 good follow-up responses to your classmates. So assignments are going to be the same as they have been in the previous weeks. We'll go over that here just shortly. I will be working throughout the week in order to be able to get your previous week's assignments graded to you back as soon as I can. As I've mentioned before, anytime you do get your assignments back, make sure that you are looking over your feedback. Typically, as I've mentioned before, usually there's a general section. I will try to put feedback there, but then if there's something specifically that you need to look at, usually I'll have a note saying, please go into the scoring rubric. And you'll notice in the scoring rubric there's actually individual sections that are broken up and you're being graded on. So, again, if you have questions all about your feedback, please do reach out to me with those questions so that I can help you if there's a specific area that you miss points on. Again, please reach out to me with any of those specific questions. I'm here to help you to the best of my ability. So with that, let's look at your assignments for this week. You'll notice you've got 3 different articles you're going to be reading out of the ESV this week. One on biblical doctrine, an overview, so that's going to be more of a lengthier section that you're reading. And then 2 introductions, one on the book of Ephesians, and then another one on the book of First Timothy. So that's where your scripture reading is going to count, or for your assigned articles that you're going to be reading this week. And again, those articles will be connected with your unit quiz. So make sure that you are reading over those articles so that you'll be able to thoroughly answer your quiz for this week. Now, with your scripture reading, you're actually going to be reading the entire book of Ephesians. So you got 6 chapters there, and the last chapter of the book of Ephesians is actually going to be the focus of your essay this week, looking at spiritual warfare. So you're going to be reading the entire book of Paul's letter to Ephesus, to the Christians there in Ephesus, and then you're going to be reading chapters or at least 2 chapters from 1 Timothy, and then also 2 Timothy chapter 1, verses 3 through 14. So again, I've mentioned this before. Anytime you're reading the scripture reading, it's always important to be able to read those footnotes that are connected with those verses, as this is going to help you have a better overall understanding of what you're reading. So looking at those specific verses, there could be key words that are in there, and so the footnotes are going to help you understand those key words, and then also just the overall context of the passage that you're reading. So just again, wanted to mention that the footnotes will be able to assist you in answering some of those questions for this week. Now there is a video lecture available for you as well as and also a supplemental handout. Both of those are specifically going to be for your reflection. So you have a video lecture on the spiritual armor of God, and then you actually also have an article, a supplemental article there that's there for you as a resource to go along with your assigned reading. As I mentioned before, anytime you're using any of the resources that's provided for you, whether it's your ESV Study Bible or another resource that I've provided, make sure you're properly citing those sources in your assignments. And then also if you use anything specifically outside the class, just make sure that you are properly citing those resources. So with that, as we get into your assignments for this week, your discussion for this week is actually going to be coming from 1 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 through 7, and you're looking at what Paul says about church leadership and really what makes a good leader, what makes a good church leader. So you're going to be looking at those qualifications that Paul lists. You're going to basically choose the ones that really stand out to you and explain the reasons why. Why are you choosing those specific qualifications that Paul lists, and then also you're giving just an overall summary also in that second question on why are those qualifications important for a person in church leadership. So again, you're writing one really substantial paragraph in your initial discussion, and then making sure that you have two good follow-up questions as well, responding back to your classmates' initial posts as well. So again, if you have questions about your discussion this week, please reach out to me with those questions. Your reflection for this week is actually going to be you looking at one of Paul's letters. Paul wrote 13 letters in the New Testament, and so you're going to choose one of Paul's letters, and then you're actually going to answer two questions. So one's going to be giving a brief description of the situation that Paul is dealing with. So what was going on for Paul to write that specific letter. So again, if you choose the book of Ephesians, what's going on specifically at the church of Ephesus for Paul to write, or the church of in Colossians, Colossae, what's going on specifically there, or Thessalonica. So you're looking at one of those specific books that Paul has written. We actually call them books, but they were epistles because it was just a letter that Paul was writing. So what was going on specifically to generate that letter from the Apostle Paul? And then the second part of that is you're going to give an overview of Paul's argument in the letter. So again, what's motivating Paul to write it, and then what's the argument that Paul is writing about. So again, two substantial paragraphs for your reflection. Again, at least 200 words in length, and then making sure that you are fulfilling those other requirements listed there, so that you're not losing any points. So again, if you have questions at all about your reflection, do reach out to me. So your final assignment for this week is going to be your essay, as I mentioned earlier. So this is going to be taking you over to Ephesians chapter 6, verses 10 through 20, and you're looking about when Paul's writing about the spiritual armor of God. What does that represent? What is the spiritual armor of God, and the components that are entailed with that? So you have 4 questions, which means you're going to be writing 4 different paragraphs, answering each one of those specific questions that Paul addresses. As I mentioned to you before, the footnotes provide information for you, and then also you do have 2 additional resources, the video lecture and then the supplemental article that's available for you as well. And again, if you use anything else outside the resources provided, just make sure you're properly citing that information. Again, make sure that you are including scripture in your reflection and also in your essay. Again, just kind of validating the points that you're making, and then also fulfilling all of those requirements listed there for your assignments. So again, if you have questions at all, please reach out to me. If I need to get another communication to you this week, I'll either post another video or just use the course message center. So with that, I hope you have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week, and look forward to connecting with each of you again soon.